Arizona reserves the balance of his time. What purpose does the gentleman from Minnesota rise?
I rise in opposition to the amendment.
The gentleman is recognized for 5 minutes.
Mr. Chairman, I take the opportunity to thank the Chairman of the full committee, Mr. Obie, Chairman of the subcommittee, Mr. Serrano, the ranking member, Ms. Emerson, for acknowledging the merits of this proposal and including these funds for the Greenstone Group. I respect the gentleman from Arizona. He's consistent, persistent, and sincere in his opposition to constituent-inspired investments that members offer on their behalf. But were he to prevail, he'd in fact be muzzling job-creating opportunities in northeastern Minnesota, the area of my district where unemployment rates are 12.9%, 15%, 16% in one community after another. The term Greenstone Group is derived from the mineral deposit that underlies much of northeastern Minnesota's iron ore mining country. It is a natural resource-based economy. We've been losing jobs with a downturn in steel and iron ore production. In fact, the iron ore mines are completely shut down. Some 6,000 jobs have been lost. The bright spot is the Northeast Entrepreneur Fund. The gentleman, in fact, cited from the application proposal. The Entrepreneur Fund, which I have supported for over 20 years, has stabilized and created 1,000 businesses, 2,500 jobs, people who are employed, who are paying federal, state, and local taxes that would not otherwise be paid. The return to the federal government on this investment is significant and real and tangible. The Entrepreneur Fund has provided $7 million in loans to 350 businesses. Over 9,000 individuals have been helped by the funds from the Northeast Entrepreneur Fund. They established a Women's Business Center. They've been an SBA microlender. They're not doing it all by themselves. The gentleman from Arizona said, well, this can and should be done by the private sector. Well, the John S. and James L. Knight Foundation, the Blandon Foundation, Minnesota Power Company, the Lloyd K. Johnson Foundation, all are partners and participants with the Northeast Entrepreneur Fund and the Greenstone Group. There is a public-private partnership that has been very successful and has the support of the private sector. How does this translate? Carol Willoughby, whom I know personally, has a very small company, Let the Whole World Know. Without the training, the technical training from the Northeast Entrepreneur Fund, I could not have done it. I wouldn't be in business without them, she wrote. Luke Popham and Jerry Rebrovich, two beginning entrepreneurs, they were turned down by 9 banks until the Northeast Entrepreneur Fund found them, helped them, guided them. And Jeremy says, without the Northeast Entrepreneur Fund, I wouldn't be in business today. They built a fitness center with their carpentry skills, and they have 900 clients. They're producing. They're creating jobs in an area that's losing jobs. What the Entrepreneur Fund and the Greenstone Group do are simply provide, in participation with private sector, professional business coaching. People with real-world business experiences help these beginning entrepreneurs do the right things, develop a good business plan, get on their feet, and operate a successful business. These one-on-one meetings with their coaches help the business owner step back from the day-to-day job of running their business and see the possibilities for growth and develop a sound business plan. This is a good investment of federal dollars. I urge opposition to the gentleman's amendment.
Gentleman from Minnesota reserves the balance of his time. Gentleman from Arizona has 2.5 minutes remaining and the right to close.
I thank the chair, and I would yield to the gentleman just 30 seconds if you could explain if there's any time in the foreseeable future that he believes that this entity will not be reliant on federal funds.
If there's any time,
Any time in the foreseeable future that this entity will be not dependent on federal funds.
when the private sector lending enterprises can step up on their own and support startup enterprises like that, you won't need a helping hand. But when the private sector says, we can't do this alone, we need a helping hand, then I think there's an appropriate role for the federal sector to be a partner with the private sector.
I think that, yes, I thank the gentleman. I think that for that clarification. It sounds to me as if, I mean, no member of Congress will ever say that in their district there is full employment. There's no need for outside assistance. And this particular entity isn't just receiving this earmark. It received an earmark for nearly $250,000 in FY09 omnibus bill that we passed just a few months ago. And so here, last year's bill, this year's bill, likely next year's bill, there are organizations all over the country that would like, one, to compete for SBA funds on merit rather than on earmark, and there are private sector organizations that would like to provide this assistance, but they're competing with government entities that are providing some of the same services. A lot of these services that are indicated here, strengthening entrepreneurs, group-based learning, peer support, access to various businesses services, these are services provided by the private sector all over the place as well. But these private sector organizations now have to compete with government organizations to survive. And in some cases, it's no wonder there aren't private sector organizations. They're crowded out by their government counterparts. And so rather than continuing to fund entities that have received earmarks year after year and have no prospect, no real prospect of not being reliant on federal government funding in the future, we've got to say enough is enough. We can't continue to spend money this way when we're running a deficit that might approach $2 trillion this year. And with that, I urge support of the amendment and yield back the balance of my time.
Gentleman yields back the balance of his time. Gentleman from Minnesota.
When the gentleman from Arizona would wave his magic wand over the northeastern part of my district and restore economic stability and growth and job creation, then we won't need this helping hand. But as I pointed out, there's no crowding out of private sector. In fact, as I cited, one of the participants was turned down 9 times by small banks who don't have the backing of big correspondent banks. They couldn't do it on their loan, but the Northeast Entrepreneur Fund came in, partnered with them, and now we've got jobs created, people working. That is what we're doing. There's no crowding out. There is a partnership, a public-private partnership that is successful in job creation and payroll creating and taking people off the unemployment rolls and putting them on payrolls.
Gentleman's time has expired. The question is on the amendment offered by the gentleman from Arizona. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. In the opinion of the chair, the noes have it.
For recorded vote, Mr. Chairman.
Pursuant to Clause 6 of Rule 18, further proceedings on the amendment offered by the gentleman from Arizona will be postponed.